are now discussing usufruct. Okay, how do we define usufruct? Under Article 562 of the New Civil Code, usufruct gives a right to enjoy the property of another with the obligation of preserving its form and substance unless the title constituting it or the law otherwise provides. So you have to preserve the form and the substance of the thing held in usufruct. You are not the owner of the thing. Eventually, after the contract of usufruct is terminated, you have to return the thing to the naked owner. So what is our formula? Naked ownership, which includes the right to the fruits of the property and also the right to dispose.
May
So ito
nakatuksel.
yung naked ownership. Now, if there is a usufruct, you can enjoy the use and the fruits of the property. Okay, right to the use and the right to the fruits of the property. So, full
Cecil, may
full
nakatok.
ownership, baka you add them together.
May klase na
Now, what are
kami.
the reasons why we conserve the form and the substance? Number one, to prevent extraordinary exploitation. Now, the usufructuary, who is not the owner of the
Tama
thing, may
naman.
abuse the use thereof. So, to prevent the abuse, which is frequent, and also to prevent impairment of the thing held in usufruct. And that is the reason you have to conserve the form and the substance of the thing held in usufruct. You are not the owner thereof. There will be a time that you will have to return the object to the naked owner. Okay, obligations of the usufructuary before, during, and after the usufruct. Before you enter into the usufruct, there are two obligations of the usufructuary. You have to make an inventory of the property. So you make the inventory and assess the condition of the movables and also the immovables. So that later on, when you now return the property, you have a proof that this property was not really in tip-top condition when you got here. Then you have to give the security or the bond. Now, usually, the security or the bond is in the form of money. Now, the security or the bond will answer for any damage or injury to the object held in usufruct. So, if you are so poor, you cannot give the bond in the form of money, then we have an alternative, the caution moratoria. So, during the usufruct, there are four obligations of the usufructuary. Number one, to take care of the property with the diligence of a good father of a family. Let me emphasize again and again, you are not the owner of the property held in usufruct. Therefore, you have to take care of the property with the ordinary diligence of a good father of a family, so that later on, the property will be returned to the naked owner in almost the same condition when you got it, minus ordinary wear and tear. So you have to take care of the property that is given to you and for the time being is in your possession. You have the right to use and to enjoy the fruits of that property. Number two obligation, the usufructuary to make the ordinary repairs on the property. Now, these are the ordinary repairs for preservation of the property. And that is the obligation of the usufructuary. Now, the third is only a notification requirement. You have to notify the naked owner of urgent, extraordinary repairs on the property held in usufruct. Now, it is the owner who has the obligation to make the urgent, extraordinary repairs on the property. However, he is not in the possession of the property. Therefore, the usufructuary must notify him of the need for the urgent, extraordinary repairs. However, if after notification, the naked owner fails or refuses to undertake the urgent, extraordinary repairs, then the usufructuary can be the one to do that, subject to reimbursement later on by the naked owner on how much expenses that were incurred by the usufructuary for undertaking the urgent, extraordinary repairs. Hindi ito obligasyon ng usufructuary. Only the notification requirement is the obligation of the usufructuary. However, you already notified the naked owner and yet he does not undertake the urgent extraordinary repairs, and you will also be prejudiced because of that. So the use of proctory can be the one to undertake the urgent extraordinary repairs and later on demand reimbursement from the naked owner. Again, number 4 is only a notification requirement. The use of proctory must notify the owner of any prejudicial or any untoward act being committed by a third person on the property. Again, the simple reason here, the naked owner is the one obliged to preserve and to protect his own property. However, he is not in the possession of the property. He is not even aware that a third person is committing a prejudicial act or any untoward act on the property held in usufruct. So you only notify him, and he will be the one to do whatever legal remedies available under the law to prevent such prejudicial act being committed by a third person. There are 2 obligations after the usufruct. Number 1 is to return the object of the usufruct unless there is a right of retention. So general rule, you have to return the object here to the naked owner upon the termination of the usufruct. Now, when is there a right of retention? I mentioned it already as to number 3. The urgent extraordinary repairs are the obligation of the naked owner. You notify the naked owner he does not want to do them or fails to do them. Then the usufructuary can be the one to undertake the urgent extraordinary repairs on the property held in usufruct, subject to reimbursement by the naked owner. For as long as there's no reimbursement yet being made by the naked owner, there's the right of retention of the object of the usufruct by the usufructuary. Now, the usufructuary must indemnify the owner for any loss or deterioration due to his fault or negligence. If the loss of the thing was because of a fortuitous event, under Article 1174 of your obligations and contracts, no one is liable for a fortuitous event. Therefore, the usufructuary need not indemnify the owner if the loss is through a fortuitous event or a force majeure. However, if the deterioration or the loss of the thing was due to the fault or the negligence of the usufructuary, there must be indemnification for damages that should be awarded to the naked owner. Now, this is what I mentioned earlier, a caution horatoria. If you are so poor or you are only given the usufruct based on the will of the testator, you are so poor you cannot even pay the security or the bond in the form of money, then the caution horatoria is the remedy. What are the requisites for a caution horatoria? There must be a proper court petition, and the petition must be filed by the usufructuary. There is the necessity for the delivery of the house and the furniture for the use by the usufructuary and his family, or the tools and the implements for the vocation of the usufructuary. They need to be delivered. There is necessity based on humanity also. So you need to deliver them to the usufructuary. Now, because there is a proper court petition, there must also be approval of the court that instead of delivering the bond or the security in the form of money or secured property, it will only be a caution horatoria. There is need for the approval of the court. It now becomes a sworn promise given by the usufructuary that he will take good care of the property with the ordinary diligence of a good father of a family, and later on return the property to the naked owner in almost the same condition when he got it, minus ordinary wear and tear. However, if you only use a caution horatoria, there is a limitation on the right of the usufructuary. The usufructuary cannot alienate or lease the property for whatever purpose to any third person. Because if you're allowed to do that, it only means that the usufructuary does not need the property that were delivered to him. And of course, you know that it is based only on necessity and humanity, that you're allowed to get the property owned by the naked owner and use it and also enjoy the fruits because there is necessity for the delivery and also because of humanity and generosity on the part of the naked owner. How do we extinguish the use of rock? Death of the use of fructuary extinguishes the use of rock. The death of the naked owner does not extinguish the use of rock because the heirs of the naked owner can decide to continue with the use of rock. Expiration of the period for which it was constituted, the fulfillment of any resolutory condition provided in the title, creating the use of rock. If in the use of rock itself, in the contract itself, there is a resolutory condition that the use of rock will continue only until such time that the daughter or the son of the use of fructuary is still in law school. But upon graduation of the son or the daughter, there will now be termination of the use of rock. Therefore, upon graduation of the son or the daughter of the use of fructuary, we now terminate the use of rock. Always remember that the happening of the resolutory condition now extinguishes the obligation. So we do not have the obligation to continue with the contract of use of rock. There can now be termination or extinguishment of the use of rock upon the happening of the resolutory condition included in the contract of use of rock. Now, just like any other contract, a contract of use of rock also means that there is meeting of the minds between the contracting parties. They can also constitute a use of rock for a certain period of time. Kaya pag nag-lapse na yung period, then we also extinguish the use of rock. Merger of use of rock and ownership in the same person. Now, you know very well, under obligations and contracts, ito yung tawag natin, merger in the same person of the character of the borrower or even the creditor. So we now have merger or confusion, which is a mode of extinguishing an obligation. Renunciation of the use of fructuary. It must be the use of fructuary who must renounce the use of rock and return the object already to the naked owner. Total loss of the thing in use of rock. It could be physical loss, it can be legal loss. If the real property object of the use of rock was expropriated in favor of the state, then we also have total loss of the thing in use of rock. Legally, there can also be physical loss. If that particular house, which is the object of the use of rock, was washed away by the flood or destroyed by an earthquake, therefore there's now extinguishment of the use of rock. Termination of the right of the person constituting the use of rock is also a reason for the extinguishment of the use of rock. And lastly, prescription. Now, you know very well that prescription is a mode of acquiring ownership. It is also a mode of losing any property with the lapse of time. So, prescription, meaning the period to take the property and enjoy the use and the fruits of the property has already prescribed. Therefore, you have now to return the property to the naked owner. Now, somehow, the reason why we want to preserve the form and the substance of the thing held in use of rock because of the bad use being done by the use of fructuary. Remember that he is not the owner of the thing held in use of rock. So more often than not, he abuses the use thereof. He maximizes the use thereof hanggang magkaroon na ng deterioration yung object held in use of rock. So what are the effects if there is bad use being done by the use of fructuary? If the bad use being done by the use of fructuary causes considerable injury to the owner, therefore the use of rock continues. Kasi may contract nga kayo. The contract and the period must be respected. The use of rock continues, however, the owner may demand delivery to him and administration by him. So technically, the management or the administration of the object of the use of rock is done now by the owner. And the use of fructuary is only given the proceeds of the use of rock. So meron siyang administration fees and expenses given to the owner. The owner is the one managing and administering the property. And what is given to the usufruct is only the proceeds. The usufructuary is paid the net proceeds after deducting administration fees and expenses. That will be given to the owner, who is now doing that function of managing the property owned by him. However, the proceeds will be given to the usufructuary as the fruits of the property. Now, if the bad use does not cause considerable injury to the owner, again, the usufruct continues. And in this case, the owner cannot demand delivery to him and administration by him. The property still is with the usufructuary. However, as early as possible, the naked owner now can terminate the usufruct because he is now aware that the usufructuary is now doing bad use of the object of the usufruct. So later on, that property may be lost, that property may deteriorate. So earlier than usual, you can now extinguish the contract of usufruct. Now, our last topic for the day, easement or servitude. How do we define an easement? An easement is an encumbrance imposed upon an immovable property. So there's no such thing as an easement on personal property. Always, the easement is constituted on real property. So there are two real properties involved. The real property burdened by the easement is what we call the servient estate. And the immovable, which enjoys the use of the easement, is what we call the dominant estate. There are also two owners. The owner of the immovable burdened by the easement is whom we call the servient estate owner. And the owner of the immovable, which enjoys the use of the easement, is whom we call the dominant estate owner. So there is a benefit to the dominant estate owner. There is prejudice or encumbrance on the servient estate owner. Now, these are the characteristics of an easement. It is a real right. When you talk of a real right, it is enforceable against the entire world, as contradistinguished from a personal right that can only be enforced against a specific person. Kaya it is a real right, it is enforceable against the entire world. It is imposed only on real property. It is imposable only on another's property. You cannot have an easement on your own property. It involves two neighboring estates, the dominant and the servient estates. There is a limitation or encumbrance on the servient estate for the benefit of the dominant estate. It is a right limited by the needs of the dominant estate. Under an easement of right-of-way, the size, yung width of the easement of right-of-way, it depends on the needs of the dominant estate. So if you're only using the legal easement of right-of-way as passageway for people, maliit lang yung area ng legal easement of right-of-way. Dadaanan lang ng tao. However, if you now have a bicycle or even a motorcycle, medyo lalaki na yung legal easement of right-of-way. Lalaki na yung area to accommodate the use of that vehicle. Now, if you already acquired a car, therefore, it is the width of the legal easement of right-of-way will be a little bigger kasi kotse na ang dadaan. So, the right is limited by the needs of the dominant estate. But of course, even the compensation to the servient estate will also be adjusted based on the area of the legal easement of right-of-way. It is inherent from the servient estate as such. It is inseparable from the servient estate, non-possessory, meaning the dominant estate owner does not have the possession of the servient estate. And the dominant estate owner does not also have the ownership of the servient estate. The possession and the ownership of the immovable, which is the servient estate, belongs to the servient estate owner. It is indivisible, intransmissible, and perpetual. So these are the characteristics of an easement. Now, what are the modes to acquire an easement? How do you acquire an easement? If the easement is continuous and apparent, an example of a continuous and apparent easement is an easement of aqueduct or even the easement of light and view. Now, why is it continuous? Because the use does not depend on acts of men. The use is incessant. And why is it apparent? Because you see a visible sign. Kung easement of light and view, you can see the opening or the window that was opened by the dominant estate owner. So let us now take as an example the easement of light and view, which is a continuous and apparent easement. It can be acquired by title. And title does not necessarily mean only a document. It means any juridical act or law that will allow you to make use of that easement. That act, juridical act or law, is sufficient to create the encumbrance or the easement. Example, by law itself. We have a legal easement of light and view. We have the legal easement of right of way. So by law itself, provided you comply with all the requisites of the legal easement of right of way, you can compel the constitution of the legal easement of right of way. Now, there can also be a donation or even a will or even by agreement of the parties. There can be a contract. So that is what we mean by title. Now, there can also be prescription. Now, what is the prescriptive period? It is 10 years. Now, there can be a positive or negative easement. Okay, our example, the easement of light and view. If the opening was made on the party wall, or the opening was made on one's own wall, which extends to another's property line, it is what we call a positive easement of light and view. So when do we count the 10-year period? We count the 10-year period from the time that the dominant estate owner commenced to exercise the easement. So when do you commence the exercise of the easement? Upon the opening made by the dominant estate owner on the party wall. You count the 10-year period from the time of the opening of the party wall. Or you count the 10-year period from the opening made by the dominant estate owner on his own wall, which extends to your property line. Bibilangin mo yung 10-year period from the time of the opening because it is a positive easement of light and view. When you set a negative easement of light and view, when you open a window on your own wall which does not extend over another's property, it is what we call a negative easement of light and view. And we count the 10-year period from the issuance of a formal or a notarial prohibition. Now, who should issue the formal or a notarial prohibition? It must be the dominant estate owner, the one who made the opening on his own wall, which does not extend to another's property line. Technically, that person is telling you, you can no longer do something that is legal because of the existence of an easement. Now, we count the 10-year period from the time of the issuance of the formal or the notarial prohibition made by the dominant estate owner on the servient estate owner. So, this is the legal easement of light and view. It is continuous, it is apparent. Now, if it is a discontinuous and apparent easement, or continuous and non-apparent, or discontinuous and non-apparent, you can only acquire that kind of easement by title, never by prescription. So by title only. What is a good example of a discontinuous and apparent easement? The easement of right of way. It is apparent because you can see the gate of the servant estate owner always open to allow the passage of the dominant estate owners over his own land. Or pag nakakita ka ng dinadaanan, walang damo. Yung laging dinadaanan, walang damo yan. So you now know that this is an easement of right of way. The legal easement of right of way will allow certain persons or a group of persons or the entire community to pass through the property of another using that as legal easement of right of way. Now, we can also have a voluntary easement of right of way. by agreement of the parties. You notice that passing through the land of your neighbor is shorter, less circuitous. You can easily go to the public highway or to the main road. So you talk to your neighbor, and your neighbor agreed to grant you the easement of right of way. Now that is what we call conventional or voluntary easement of right of way by agreement of the parties. However, you can compel the legal easement of right of way even if your neighbor does not want to give you the legal easement of right of way, provided all the requisites under Article 649 and 650 are available. So ito yung easement of right of way, the most common kind of easement. It is by which one person or a particular class of persons is allowed to pass over another's land, usually through one particular path or line. So, hindi pwedeng lahat dadaanan mo. You will now have to choose what particular path or line to use as the easement of right of way. Now, as I said earlier, you can compel the legal easement of right of way, provided you comply with all the requisites under Articles 649 and 650 of the new Civil Code. Number one, there is an immovable, which we call the dominant estate, which is surrounded by other immovables pertaining to other persons. So other persons are the owners of the immovable surrounding your own land. And you do not have any adequate outlet to a public highway. And that adequate outlet to a public highway is absolutely necessary for the use or cultivation of the enclosed estate of the dominant estate owner. And number four, the isolation is not due to the claimant's own act. You were not the one who caused your own isolation, and it must be established at a point least prejudicial to the servient estate. Now, as a general rule, the legal easement of right of way must be the shortest way to the public highway or to the main road. However, if the shortest way is not compatible, it is not congruent to the point least prejudicial to the servient estate, you should establish the legal easement of right of way at the point least prejudicial to the servient estate. The claimant must be the owner of the land that is isolated or enclosed, or you are one with the real right thereto. Now, if there is a contract of lease and it allows the lessee a period of more than 1 year, you now have a real right over that real property. You can be the one to demand the legal easement of right of way. But whether it is a voluntary easement of right of way or the legal easement of right of way, there must be payment of the indemnity. Payment of the proper indemnity must be given by the dominant estate owner to the servient estate owner. So all the 7 requisites must be present so that you can demand the legal easement of right of way by going to court. And you can compel your neighbor to grant you the legal easement of right of way even if he does not want to do so. The court will order him, your neighbor, to grant you the legal easement of right of way. And later on, there will also be the amount that should be paid to that particular person for the grant of the legal easement of right of way. Now, what is the amount of the indemnity that should be paid to the servient estate owner? If the passage is permanent, you pay for the value of the land that will be used as right of way. The bigger the area of the right of way that will be used, the higher is also the amount that should be paid by the dominant estate owner, plus the amount of damages that will be caused to the servient estate owner. And what is this damage that will be caused to the servient estate owner? That every now and then, you will pass through the land of the servient estate owner. Laging nakabukas yung gate, and therefore there will be damage to the property belonging to the servient estate owner. You have to pay damages to the property of the servient estate owner. Now, if the passage is merely temporary, you just pay the amount of damage caused to the servient estate owner. You do not pay for the value of the land used as the legal easement of right of way. Now, under Article 655, now this can only extinguish the legal easement of right of way. It cannot extinguish the voluntary easement of right of way. Kindly take note of that. So what are the ways by which we can extinguish the legal easement of right of way? The opening of a new road. Now let us say that the local government unit or even the national government now opened a new road. That is sarado ito. And there's now opening of a new road which abuts joining the dominant estate to another which abuts, and therefore the dominant estate owner now has access to the public highway. For that reason, you do not need the legal easement of right of way anymore. Such new access is adequate and convenient to the dominant estate. Therefore, we can now extinguish the legal easement of right of way. But again, let me emphasize, if the easement was agreed upon by the parties, the neighbors agreed to a voluntary easement of right of way, even if there is a new road which was opened by the government, the voluntary easement of right of way may still continue unless there is agreement of the contracting parties to extinguish the voluntary easement of right of way, or there is no renunciation on the part of the dominant estate owner. He does not want to use anymore the voluntary easement of right of way. Agreeable na siya that because of the opening of a new road, he now has access to the public highway which is adequate and convenient to him. Therefore, he is now renouncing, he is now giving up the voluntary easement of right of way. Okay, this easement of lateral and subjacent support. Now, I mentioned this when we were discussing ownership of a land, a parcel of land. You can excavate on your own land provided you do not prejudice your neighbor. You do not deprive your neighbor of sufficient lateral and subjacent support. Ito yun. No excavation upon one's own land may be made to deprive the adjacent land or building of sufficient lateral and subjacent support. There was that particular case in one province, naghahanap ng treasure, hidden treasure. So the neighbors do not even know that that person was now excavating on his own land. However, later on, they noticed that their properties are getting a little shaky. So the excavation had to be stopped by the local government officials. So you're depriving your neighbor of sufficient lateral and subjacent support. Their buildings or their house may collapse because of the injurious excavations you're using even on your own property, and that cannot be allowed. Easement of right and view, we mentioned already earlier, based on Article 667 to 673. The general rule, no part owner may, without the consent of the others, open through the party wall any window or aperture of any kind. However, if there was the opening made by one of the co-owners of the party wall, then you have to object to the opening made if you do not consent. What is the prescriptive period? 10 years only from the time of the opening. So if the opening was through a party wall, 10 years from the time of the opening. So if you're the other owner, co-owner of that party wall, you must object to the opening. Within the 10-year period, you can object to the opening made by the other co-owner. You can even close the window. You can even construct a higher wall that will obstruct the light and view of your neighbor. However, after the lapse of the 10-year period, from the time of the opening of the window, you can no longer close the window that was opened by your neighbor. He has now acquired the easement of light and view, and this is a positive easement of light and view. Now, if the opening was made by the dominant estate owner on his own wall, which does not extend to your property, therefore the 10-year period will be counted from the time of the issuance of a notarial or a formal prohibition. The notarial prohibition must be issued by the dominant estate owner on the servient estate owner. Now, within the 10-year period from the time of the issuance of the notarial or the formal prohibition, you can still close the window. Hindi mo lang pwedeng isarado after the lapse of the 10-year period from the time of the issuance of the notarial prohibition. So you should be very wary if there's already the issuance of the notarial prohibition, try to close the window at once. Otherwise, with the lapse of the 10-year period from the time of the opening or from the time of the notarial prohibition, you can no longer close that particular window. So you have to find out whether it is opening on the party wall or through the wall of the dominant estate owner, which extends to your property line. Positive easement pa rin yun. But if it is through the wall of the dominant estate owner, which does not extend to your property line, it now becomes a negative easement of right and view. There is a need for the issuance of a formal or a notarial prohibition. Technically, the dominant estate owner is telling you, you can no longer do something that is legally possible had there been no easement. That is a prohibition now on you. Okay, that is the end of our lecture. The next topic will be nuisance. We will be discussing it next meeting. Okay. So, can we now discuss yung ating problema because last time around, hindi